Hello, everyone. It's time for Vanished Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 204, season 9. Today's date is March 11, 2023, and welcome to the show. On today's program, I will talk about Oldsmobile cars from the 1970s and 80s and my memories of about Robert Blake, the actor that passed away on March 9th. Which consists of me watching him on television. I'll talk about his career and the movies that I watched, and the shows that he was in. So it'd be very interesting. Okay. Right now, the program will go to a commercial break, and this program is brought to you by Glory Rug Shampoo. And this commercial is from 1968. This features an actress. When you listen, if you're a TV fan like me, you would recognize her voice immediately. If you don't, I will reveal who she is. Okay? So sit back and enjoy, and I'll be back with the show. Thank you, everyone.
Now you can clean your rug this afternoon and entertain guests tonight. Glory does it. Glory, the new spray foam rug cleaner from Johnson Wax.
Just push the button, and you get instant foam.
It's deep cleaning foam. Sponge it in, and your rug's cleaner already. Let dry, then vacuum.
Glory dries in only 2 to 4 hours, and just one can cleans a big 10 by 14 rug for less than $2.
Try new Glory. So easy you can clean your rug this afternoon. Entertain guests tonight. Glory, new from Johnson Wax.
This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Glory Rug Cleaner. Rug shampoo, that is. Sorry. The woman that's speaking in the commercial, that was actress Joan Hotchkiss, best known as Dr. Nancy Cunningham from The Odd Couple. She was Oscar Madison's girlfriend for a couple seasons. You know, she was very pretty. And she was a wonderful actress. And the only movie I remember watching her was Ode to Billy Joad that came out in 1976. You remember with Robbie Benson. And so she she performed stage work, also a few movies, you know. I also remember from Bewitched. If you're a Bewitched fan, it's like when Samantha and Darren went to Salem, Massachusetts, and visited the House of Seven Gables, and there was a bed warmer, and she was the tour guide, and the bed warmer was animated. He was a warlock that Serena, Samantha's cousin, turned him into. It's a funny episode. I love it. And she got fed up with the shenanigans that Samantha was doing. It wasn't her fault. It was the bed warmer. So and she passed away on September 27, 2022. Yeah, last year. She was 95 years old. Oh, she lived a long life. She had a long and illustrious career. Okay. At the beginning of the program, I said I was going to talk about Oldsmobile cars from the 1970s and 80s, and also my memories of actor Robert Blake, watching him on TV. Before I get started, I'll mention a couple things. This past week has been very nice. Someone sent me a message through Instagram, told me there's an article and you're mentioned in this article in the Chicago Magazine. I go, whoa, I didn't know that. I wasn't notified. or and I did see it before, but I didn't read it. It was about dying malls, shopping malls, like for example, Fort City, River Oaks, all types of malls in Chicago, not just Chicago, all over the country. And so he sent me the link. This young man did that, and I read it. And in the beginning, it's about a podcast episode about my memories of Fort City during Christmas time. I remember doing that podcast episode, and that was very nice. I'm very touched by that. And so I shared it on my social media. I sent it to a few of my family members and friends, and he said, "That's great. That's wonderful. Oh, it's nice. It's nice to be acknowledged, But I had no clue like that." Another surprise I had yesterday was I received a thank you note from a fan in the mail. Wow, my first fan letter. So, I don't want to brag about it, but that the thing is, it's very touching. I get a lot of comments through social media saying, "Pete, you're doing a good job. This is a wonderful page you're doing on Vanish Chicagoland. I love your podcast, et cetera, et cetera." Also on Twitter. But this is very close to home, and I'm very touched, and it's someone I never met, out of the blue, and he sent me a thank you note. I posted a picture of me holding it, and also next to it was what he wrote. His name was David, but I couldn't read his last name, so I apologize, David. And I guess I touch people's lives with what I do. That's nice. It really is. Okay. So right now I'm going to get started. I'm going to talk about Oldsmobile Cars. I'll talk a little bit of history of the automaker and my memories of Oldsmobile. So here we go. So Oldsmobile, believe it or not, started in 1897. And the man who started all this or launched his name was Ransom E. Olds. And let's see, I wonder what the E stands for. Eli. Yeah. I used to hear it's Eli Olds, Ransom. That's an odd name. And that started in the factory in Lansing, Michigan, not Chicago, of course, of Detroit in Michigan. They're famous for car, factories like that. And as time went, they had Model Ts, and as time went on, and it became a very popular car. And let's see what else. So it peaked like about in the 70s and 80s, like that. Not the 90s so much. And so I'll talk about two things. First, I'll talk about the models that are very notable that a lot of people remembered or owned, for Oldsmobile. Like, for example, there was the Oldsmobile 442. It began as a muscle car in 1964. I remember those. And as time went on, it got a little larger and all that. The next one was the Cutlass, one of the most popular best-selling cars from this automaker. And then there was the Cutlass Supreme. It was a four-door hardtop sedan, which I'll get to in a minute when I talk about my memories of that. And that lasted from 1961 all the way to 1999. So that was on the market for a long, long, long time. Also, we have the Oldsmobile F85. That was way back in the old days. Also, the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser. Remember that? The Oldsmobile Starfire. Okay. And of course, we have the Oldsmobile Delta 88. Those big yacht cars. When I was growing up, I never heard of this term. Never. I never. And it was huge. When as a little boy, to me, was like a boat, like that. And I used to be a passenger in that car by I guess some of my parents' friends. They owned that, and it was like, ooh, wow. It was nice. It was very comfy like that. And also the Oldsmobile Toronado. They had that as well. Yeah. And let's see what else they had. Of course, yes, then they did the Oldsmobile 98. And that was a little more luxurious, excuse me. And, you just sit there and you're like, it's like Cadillacs, like that. And I mentioned Toronado. Also, there was the Oldsmobile Omega. That was like sort of like the Chevy Nova. You remember that? And I used to see those all the time when I was younger. That lasted from mid 70s to like the mid 80s, like about 1973 and 1984. Also, there was the Oldsmobile Calais, not Calais or Calais or like that. Also, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. That was very popular, back in the 80s and the 90s, like that. And their full station, I'm sorry, their full size station wagon at the time was the Oldsmobile Custom Cruiser. I remember those. Yeah, they had good station wagons. I mean, do we have station wagons now? No, we have minivans and SUVs. Forget that. They're too big. I mentioned the Starfire before. It was like it's based on the Chevrolet Vega. And of course, in the 80s, there was a sedan. It was like a hatchback, and it's compared like the Chevy Cavalier or the Pontiac Sunberg or the Buick Skyhawk or the Cadillac Cimarron. And that was the Oldsmobile Forenza. I remember that. Yeah. And in the 90s, I won't talk about that, but if I'll read a few that might, if you might remember, there was the Oldsmobile Achieva, the Oldsmobile Alero. There was another luxury car called the Oldsmobile Aurora, and they had an SUV. It was called the Bravada. That was doing that. Let's see, the Oldsmobile Intrigue that came much later. Excuse me, and the Oldsmobile Silhouette. That was a minivan like that, but that was it for that. So right now I'm going to play a commercial for Oldsmobile, and this is the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme from 1979. When I come back, I will talk about the car that my family owned, which was the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. So sit back and enjoy the commercial. We'll take you back to the 1970s. Thank you, everyone.
This is the famous design of Oldsmobile's Cutlass Supreme. It's one big reason why more mid-sized car buyers chose Cutlass over the last 4 years than any other car. But there's another reason. Cutlass is different cars for different people. Those who want style, value, and good gas mileage choose Cutlass Supreme. Those who like the look and feel of a grand touring car choose Cutlass Calais with bucket seats, special suspension, and full instrumentation. Those who want the nicest of luxury touches choose Cutlass Supreme Brome with richness inside you'd expect in bigger, more expensive cars. Cutlass, different cars for different people. All of them come with that solid Olds engineering and that great Cutlass feeling on the road. Millions of Cutlass owners know the feeling and love it. Why don't you take a test drive at your Oldsmobile dealer now and discover that great Cutlass feeling too? Olds Cutlass Supreme. Have one built for you.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. I remember the commercials very well as growing up as a child. Uh, they used to advertise heavily on television from so they've been doing that since the beginning, from the 50s, 60s, but, they were big in the 70s, and they used to show it like when I was watching TV shows in the evening, mostly on ABC, on Channel 7. Uh, they turned it, they were like beautiful productions of that, and also in the 80s as well. Uh, my memories of the Oldsmobile cars, I'll tell you right now. We owned a Cutlass Supreme. That's right. Uh, so I'll start in the beginning. We had a car. Our first car was a Mercury Montego that came out, and it was in 1972. But we bought it used in 1975. That's when my mother started driving. My parents never drove before, and so that was when we moved to the Ashburn neighborhood, and we needed a car. So my mom had to learn how to drive. She was nervous, but she managed to pull it off, and she's still driving to this day. Thank goodness. And so we owned the Mercury Montego for a lot of years, but it was time to get a second car because I was getting older. My brothers were getting older. We were going to college, and well, I was in college at the time, like 81 or 82. I was at Daly, and my brothers were, my younger brother was almost graduating grade school, and my middle brother was in Bogan High School. He was in high school. So it was time. So I don't know who recommended or suggested that we go to this dealership, and that was Jack Thompson Oldsmobile. And a lot of people in Oak Lawn would remember this dealership very well, and he was located on West 95th Street and South Pulaski Road. And he was in business for a long, long time. And right now, well, I don't know when it closed exactly. I'm not sure. Right now it's a Portillo's. I go there sometimes for lunch, and if I need my Portillo's fix. So we decided to go there and look around. And let's see. I'm trying to remember the story. We decided to get a 4-door car, to fit all of us. My father never drove in his life. He didn't want to drive. He took the driving test, but he never got his license. That's the story that my mother told me. So when he was working at the Conrad Hilton Hotel in downtown, he relied on public transportation. He never drove a car. So we went to the dealership. We looked around, and there was one car that was very eye-catching. It was a Cutlass Supreme. I should double check with my mother because of the colors, because I think the one was blue or black, and that looked very nice. So my father did turn a 180 and wanted the white one. That's how it was. My mom was not pleased, so we chose that. And to tell you the truth, it was a nice looking car. It was white, and the interior was very plush. I remember it was kind of brownish, very soft and luxurious, very comfy. Had an AM FM radio. I don't know if it had a tape. I think it had a cassette tape. Not CDs. No, the CDs came later. I think it had a cassette player inside, and we had cassettes at the time. I drove it a few times, and so did my brother. About the time that he, let's see, yeah, he got his blue slip and his license by the time he was at Bogan. And my mom started driving him, and she was a little nervous, but she got used to it. But she loved it. She liked driving the car. She wasn't crazy about the color. But anyway, So the Oldsmobile, we had it for about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years, probably in the late '80s. Then I think we sold it to somebody. There was a friend of ours, and then we started buying Toyotas. So for me, my next car was when I graduated from DeVry in 1986. My very first car was the Chevrolet Cavalier. Oh, I love that car. I love that. I'll talk about that in another podcast episode. And so, other memories of my Oldsmobile, of the Oldsmobile cars, was in my neighborhood. I used to see them they were parked in driveways, or I was a passenger. The Cutlasses, the Toronados. Some of the kids that I went to high school with had. I remember one guy in my class. He had I think a green one, green Cutlass. Very beautiful car. Beautiful car. No, was it green? Or is it? No, it was kind of tan. Yeah, tan color like that. I think the green one was parked in the driveway. Used to see them all the time. And then as you were driving around, you used to see all kinds of models, the Delta 88, the 98, any type of model like that. They were abundant all over the place. So do I see Oldsmobiles now? I don't know. I never notice. I never notice right now because they ceased operations on April 29th, 2004. That was the last. If you still own an Oldsmobile, I don't know if you can get parts of it. You probably could. Maybe if you're lucky. I don't know. Good luck to that, but the people have a fondness for this car in their youth, when they were younger. And I don't blame them. I really don't. So so that car was gone. And also there was Pontiacs. So maybe someday I'll talk about Pontiac. We'll see about that. And, they're not, most of the automakers all through the beginning, they're still around. Others have disappeared. A few have been relaunched, but not Oldsmobile. I don't see that coming back. No, that was it. Also has a logo of the rocket, the famous, the skinny thing like that. I think that's what it's called. Sometimes it was like a hood ornament, or it was on on the car or on the trunk. You would look at that, you automatically recognize as an Oldsmobile. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Right now, I'm going to talk about actor Robert Blake. And when I heard this was a shock to me that he passed away on March 9th of this week. He was 89 years old. He's famous for his roles, and one movie role he was famous for is In Cold Blood. Oh, I've seen this movie about 2 or 3 times, and he's so chilling in that. It's like, ugh, he's a nasty guy. And in television, oh, well, actually in the movies, he's best known as Mickey from the Our Gang series. So I'll get to that in a second. And also he's well known for Barretto, that famous TV role. I love this show. I loved this show when I was growing up. I look forward to watching it on Channel 7, WLS in Chicago, also the reruns. Right now, I will talk a little bit about his background, his biography, that is, and then I'll get to his movie and television career. Okay, so he was born Michael Gubitosi, I can't pronounce his name, in Nutley, New Jersey, September 18, 1933. And so he started in the Our Gang series, The Little Rascals, from 1939 to 1944. And then he appeared as a child actor in the film franchise, the Red Ryder series. I've seen once, probably on television, probably. And I think you can see that on YouTube, if you can find it, I believe. And he was very successful. one movie I remember him in was a movie called The Big Noise that starred Laurel and Hardy from 1944. And he was a mischievous kid because Laurel and Hardy were hired as detectives to protect a bomb, and he was in there. A lot of people, a lot of critics, and a lot of people thought the movie was terrible. I liked the movie. It's funny, because I love those guys. They're hilarious, and I still laugh at them. And let's see what else. And then he moved on to television, and he appeared in a lot of westerns, and also as another film role that he was famous was The Treasure of Sierra Madre, and he was playing a Mexican boy who was trying to sell a winning lottery ticket, to Humphrey Bogart, and Humphrey Bogart throws a glass of water in his face. That's a good movie. I used to watch that movie on Channel 9 on WGN. It's classic like that. And then he drafted in the Army, and then he came back. And then like I said before, he appeared on television, like mostly westerns, like, for example, How Gun Would Travel, The Rebel, Bat Masterson, Laramie, and he also other movies, Pork Chop Hill, also PT 109, The Greatest Story Ever Told. He did that, and then the most famous movie he was in Cold Blood. He starred that, and also here's a movie that he appeared that I never heard of. I totally forgot. It was Electric Glide in Blue. I never seen this movie. And so from what I've heard, it's a good movie. He was wonderful in that. Okay. And so right now I'm going to play a commercial with Robert Blake, and a lot of people remember him. He used to do commercials for STP, the oil, from the STP oil, and this is the STP gas station commercial from 1977, and it features Robert Blake. So sit back and enjoy, and I will talk about Beretta and my memories of watching Beretta. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Sit tight, Pop. I'll pump myself. Let me tell you something, gang. Any gas will get you where you want to go. But it ought to be in there cleaning your carburetor, too. Now, you want to make sure you're getting the job done, use new STP gas treatment. You just pump in a can with every tank load of gas, and it goes to work cleaning like a bandit. Clean that carburetor. Get a hold of this, and do it yourself. Keep the change, partner.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for STP featuring Robert Blake. I remember this commercial very well. Excuse me. He used to show this all the time in the 70s. He did a lot of them. I was in grade school at the time, and they were like, he was memorable in those. He really was. Anyway, about Beretta, that started in 1975, but it had kind of a history of this show. Before that, it was like a revised show of a television show called Toma that started Tony Musanti, he was an actor, and he started for one season, and then they wanted to continue the show in some way like that, so they retooled it, and they made it into Beretta, starring Robert Blake, and that premiered on January 17th, 1975, ended March 18th, 1978, ran for 4 seasons. Of course, when the show comes on, you hear that famous theme song sung by Sammy Davis Jr., keep your eye on the sparrow. Like the, oh. After you hear that theme song, you're ready to watch the show. That's how it was with me, and I'm sure for other people. So the plot, the what the show was all about is it was Tony Beretta. He was a plainclothesman police detective. Uh, he disguised himself sometimes. Sometimes as a woman, sometimes as other ethnic groups. He did that. I never saw him, so he wasn't. Maybe I saw him one episode. He wore a policeman's uniform. I think he did. I don't know. That sounds familiar. His famous catchphrases of the show was, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time," and also you can take that to the bank. And when I posted about him on my Facebook page, people keep saying that. And he used to drive this 1966 Chevrolet Impala, this four-door sedan. It was like misty blue, nicknamed the Blue Ghost. That's funny, like that. And it was a very popular show at the time. Also in the cast was Billy Truman, that's played by Tom Ewell. You remember him from The 7-Year Itch. Also, there was Rooster. He was a pimp, but he was an informant. He always gave Beretta tips on information or like that. He was very reliable. And let's see what else. Also, there was a couple people, and there was two superiors he worked for, supervisors. One was Inspector Schiller, and the other was Lieutenant Hal Brubaker. He always gave him grief. I think he did with the other guy too. And there was also an older detective. His name was Fats, and he had a raspy voice. He talked like that. And of course, I haven't forgotten Fred, the talking cockatoo. Oh, he was. I don't know. I hate to say this, but I would look forward to seeing Fred. Every time Fred was on, I was very happy to see him. He was entertaining. He was cute. Smart bird. Very smart bird indeed. Like that. And so I heard there was some behind the scenes that he didn't get along with some people or didn't like the way the show ran. And I don't know if he quit or they just cancel it. Could be either way. And then Robert Blake moved on and starred in a couple of shows. And then what I remember, there was a miniseries called Blood Feud that came out in 1983. And he played Jimmy Hoffa. And I saw this, and he was excellent in that role. He was great. And I haven't seen it lately. I saw it once, and that's it. I wish maybe I could find it on YouTube and watch it again. Maybe it's on DVD. And then he started in another television series. It was kind of controversial. It was called Helltown. And he played a priest. I saw a couple episodes. He was okay, but didn't do well in the ratings. And his last movie was in. He played the mystery man in David Lynch's Lost Highway. They came out in 1997. David Lynch is famous for Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks. He looked like a very weird guy in that. I never seen the movie. I never seen it. No. Of course, Robert Blake is famous for his personal life, but I didn't want to go into more depth of that. He was married 3 times. He had 2 kids. His son Noah is an actor, and then he met that woman in 1999, Bonnie B. Bakley, and she was like a con artist. She really was, and of course he fell for her. I guess she was a very smooth talker, and and she was murdered on May 4th, 2001. A lot of people said that Robert Blake killed her. Some people didn't say. He denied it, but he was arrested anyway. And also, he had his bodyguard. He was arrested too with the connection of the murder. But then he was acquitted after that. But he claims he was innocent. He's been innocent, but we don't know who killed him. You know, killed her. Excuse me. I didn't mean that. So he went to trial. You know, then he went to trial. Then he got acquitted, and then after that, I don't know if he did any acting. Very little. I guess he retired, and he just, he kept a low profile. Also, he had a daughter from Bonnie Lee. So he had 3 children. So, and you would see him on interviews. He would go crazy, like that. But he had a hard life. He really did. Growing up, he was abused, and but as for acting, he was awesome. He really was. I liked him. I really did, and especially from Little Rascals, and his movie roles. Yeah, they're okay. But Beretta, the best. The very best, all I know is the first season of Beretta's on DVD has been released on DVD, but not other seasons. Maybe this will bring the other seasons out, to be released. I hope so. You can watch a couple episodes on YouTube if you can find them. I believe you can. So, also Beretta went into reruns. I remember watching them on Channel 32. I remember that, like in the late 70s and early 80s. And I used to watch with my mom and my brothers. We loved that show. And friends of mine, all through high school, they said, "Oh, we got to watch Beretta." Yeah, because he was very appealing. He really was. So he's gone now. But his work will live on forever. Okay. That is all for that's all for the show. Excuse me. So I'll do a recap of what I discussed. I talked about the Oldsmobile cars from the 70s and 80s. Also, my memories of actor Robert Blake on television, and watching him on TV in Chicago, that is. And so I guess that's it. This podcast will be published later on today. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Also, it'll be on my YouTube channel, Van Chicagoland Stories. I will use that because a lot of people like the YouTube. It's easier to listen. I will do that. You can listen on your desktop, your tablet, your phone, whatever device you have. And so that's it, folks. I will have another podcast probably Tuesday. We'll see, what I'll discuss. And so this is Pete Costanis, your host for Van Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. This weekend will be a little cold, a little snow, not that great. But it'll get better. Spring is coming. It is coming. I mean, we had spring, but officially, that is. Okay. So here's bye-bye for me, and here's a little traveling music from Ray Rayner saying bye, bye, bye. Take care, everyone. So long.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.